must not go back to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
That help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hogwarts, a podcast. Hey everyone, I'm your host Dan, and we're back again to discuss Chapter 12, the Polyjuice Potion. Elizabeth is back with me.
Hello.
This chapter starts right as Harry walked through the Gryffindor.
Yeah, which is kind of rare. Usually it seems like those chapters just, jump. This one is right into Dumbledore's office.
Yep.
Which is a fascinating office. I want to spend more time in there.
We've seen Filch's office. We've seen Snape's office.
Yeah.
This is
Lockhart's office.
But this one, and it should be. It's the headmaster's office. It should be a little bit more extravagant.
Which, he right away notices there's the portraits of the old headmasters and headmistresses who are all asleep. Which I guess if there's nothing else to do as a portrait, sleep is the thing to do. Take a nap. And then, of course, there's the sorting hat. There's 1.5 million books. And there's a phoenix in Dumbledore's office.
Which Harry doesn't even know is a phoenix.
No, he doesn't. Which seems like a failure of his education.
Yes. But when he sees a sorting hat, the thought jumps to his mind to put it back on again and see if he can get more insights as to why the hat chose to put him in Gryffindor or Slytherin
did
or
he
whatever.
make a mistake?
And
I love how he said, be in your bonnet, Potter.
Yeah. And the hat does not really give him the answer that he was looking for.
No, he doesn't ease his mindset at all.
You would have done well in Slytherin. Mm-hmm. Would being emphasized. You would have done well. But yeah, so that's kind of an interesting... And then he just rips the hat off and is like, I'm done with this.
Right. Because that was a scary answer. He doesn't want to hear that he could have succeeded in Slytherin. He wants to be a pure Gryffindor.
But, it was just an interesting kind of moment to kind of put the hat back on and then having the hat immediately just recognize Harry and be like, there's something on your mind. Let's have that talk.
I wonder when the last time he had a conversation with the student was. Because the sorting
Every
was
year.
months ago. Does Dumbledore ever put the sorting hat on just to chat? Or is it kind of just, sits on the shelf and collects dust until the next year?
I don't know if he ever puts on the hat to kind of just talk about Hogwarts history.
Because that would be really fascinating to learn more about the founders from the hat that belonged to a founder, and knew them as much as a hat can know a person.
Well, yeah, that's the other part of it is I don't know exactly his range of information that he can really tell. Mm-hmm. Or if he's just specifically in your head the entire time and just based everything off that. I don't know. I don't know exactly how that magic works, but yeah. But they have a really interesting conversation that I honestly wish would have gone on further. And we can kind of get to that a little bit in the spoiler because I do have a what if question for you.
And I have some spoilery type things, yeah. But
cool. So, in the meantime, in Harry's downtime, going in between classes and such, Fred and George are kind of making this all into,
it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
And I'm probably the only one on this side of this. But I'll be that person. It's fine. I think this might be the first time where Fred and George kind of missed the mark on their humor and aren't really as funny as they either think they are or they want to be.
I would agree with you if Harry was taking offense to it.
People are getting attacked
Mm-hmm.
it is a serious issue.
Mm-hmm.
And the school is kind of ablaze with this real worry, Hermione included. Their sister is distraught for various reasons.
Right.
And I don't think they're handling... This is one time I'll agree with Percy. It's like, guys, this is a serious issue. Like, there's a problem here. And our sister is having issues, clearly. You're not making it better. You're making it substantially worse. I don't know that this is the time or the place for them to be doing what they're doing. Just my 2 cents.
See, I could see that, but I could also see it as they recognize that everyone else is distraught and tense and stressed and scared, and they are the people who can bring levity to people's lives, especially Harry's, because he's getting attacked left and right. So if Harry's like, yeah, I know it's ridiculous that you think that anyone thinks that I'm the heir of Slytherin, then it could be a way to be like, okay, Harry, yeah, we understand. We're on your side. I think that's their intention.
Yeah, I don't doubt. But it's just like
I could see your point, but I
read the room a little bit.
Yeah,
I just think
it's kind of funny, that Harry, at least he finds it funny, so it's not like the end of the world.
Well,
of course it is. Yes,
he gets
Ginny.
the joke, but
right.
To others, there's no joke to be had.
Well, it annoys Malfoy.
But yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. That was just one of the times that I think that Fred and George were just
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm probably the only one on that side of the argument, so I'll take the hits on that. That's fine. But you know what else was interesting was Hedwig makes her return.
Yeah, she holds a grudge.
Yeah. No fury like a woman scorned, right?
Exactly.
Hedwig is... Woof. This is December. We're in December.
I mean, she almost died after being locked up in a cage all summer.
Well, that wasn't Harry's explicit fault.
No, but it's still something.
Now, he did almost forget her,
which
once.
Would also be annoying.
And almost got her killed in the car.
Uh-huh.
Those 2 things were his fault. But still, what,
well,
3
probably
months?
as an owl, you recognize don't go near the Whomping Willow. And here's these stupid humans that go straight into the Whomping Willow.
Well, it's just still though, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
But she brings a gift of a toothpick. Merry Christmas, Harry.
Which, again, makes me wonder how... Because the Dursleys don't remember his birthday, probably. Or maybe they do because of the circumstances of his birthday.
Just purposely ignore it.
Yeah, but it's just they don't want to send him anything. Even if they do remember, they don't really want to send him anything. So is literally Hedwig flying there and just literally claws on door or window, just
I could
tapping.
see that, or I could see Dumbledore sends home letters being make sure to remember your student. And
Dumbledore wouldn't do that. McGonagall might.
But, I mean, how much fun does Dumbledore have with irritating them? We saw that in book 1 with sending the letters in every way, shape, and form. And just, harassing them with it. So it could be fun for Dumbledore to harass them. Send your adopted son something.
Wow.
So send him a toothpick.
I just thought of something that was really, really dark. That I kind of want to get to. It's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. It's a spoiler.
You say dark, my ears pick up.
I'm gonna write it down.
While you're doing that, everyone's leaving the castle because they don't want to die. But Crabbe and Goyle and Malfoy are still around, and we don't really see too much of Crabbe and Goyle. But now they are the main focus because they are just stuffing their faces, and Hermione has the best plan in the world to fill a cake for both of them with a sleeping draught, and then their sleeping draft or whatever, and then they can pass out. We can steal their hairs, and then they won't accidentally come in and interrupt us when we're in Polyjuice potion mode. Which, of course, the boys are this is never going to work. And Hermione's oh, ye of little faith. And it works perfectly.
The whole thing doesn't exactly work perfectly.
Her part of it does.
Does it?
Up until like taking the Polyjuice potion, and then it works. But after that, no.
Fair enough. But shout out to Hermione because she should darn near be the potions master because she's doing the Polyjuice potion.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's just on her downtime, quickly getting a sleeping draught together that won't like kill them.
Yeah.
And it's just so quick and easy. And then she apparently has baking skills because she somehow fills the cakes with the potion.
I mean, she could have just taken 2 cakes from the table and like injected it into the cake, but
how?
There are like syringes. Dan has never watched a baking show. If he
no.
he would know these things.
No. It's not about baking.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes.
It isn't. Because it's like, where are you going to get that stuff?
The syringe?
Yeah. She going to break into Madame Pomfrey's room?
Maybe she broke into
Does
Snape's...
Pomfrey even use those?
She broke into
break
Snape's
into the kitchens?
office?
Like, where is she going to get this stuff? I don't know.
Hermione has her ways.
It's not about baking. And for those that there's...
The fact still remains, you've never seen a baking show. And there are ways you can fill these little syringes and you can squirt it into the pastry and then it's on the inside. So it is doable.
For those that follow our Instagram, sometimes Anna will put on things that she makes.
Which always looks so delicious.
From the Harry Potter cookbook. Gosh. And now we both have access to the Instagram. So one of our mutual friends decided to message us and just be like, hey, is Dan baking right now? And then Anna got into this long conversation of, are you kidding? Dan doesn't bake. And for the record, I have baked before. It's not that
cookies.
It's not that I cannot bake. I might not bake well, but I can bake. Thank you very much. Anyway, side tangent. Anywho, but yes, I've had some of Anna's rock cakes. They are quite delicious. Anywho, yeah, so there is that plan. She does get somehow the drought into the cakes. We will leave that to the mysteries of Hermione. But
Polyjuice potion is ready. And I just love how adding the hair to the Polyjuice potion changes the color, it changes the taste, and it's specific to the human being and their personality and their qualities and their character, which just makes me wonder, like, if you were to try to taste your own, would you even be able to taste it? Would it just taste like nothing to you because you're you?
Or would it just taste automatically good?
Yeah, like which would... I think it would taste like nothing. Because it's like, you can't really necessarily...
Would the potion even work at all?
Well, you'd still be you.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Would it have any effect whatsoever?
Probably not, but just would you be able to taste it? I don't know. I think it'd just be interesting to see like what color yours becomes and, you know, what does it smell like or taste like? And can it change? Like if you change as a person, can your Polyjuice potion change? So many thoughts.
She has a whole spoiler conversation ready to go.
I do.
I do like how when they change, Ron is just, again, great. We had a couple of great Ron quotes from the last chapter. And when he sees Harry for the first time and they're discussing and Harry's like thinking about something, Ron just utters, wow, it's really weird to see Goyle think.
Right.
Great, awesome line. And then Harry looked puzzled like a couple minutes later, and Ron was like, that looks more like Goyle. It's like just great Ron humor out of nowhere.
But also interesting, like that, I mean, they've obviously paid enough attention to Crabbe and Goyle to recognize like this is how they like walk or what they talk or like, you know, phrases and stuff, which would be really hard to do. Because, I mean, like, you have to become that person.
To be fair, now...
And people have very distinctive, like, character traits and stuff.
To be fair, though, with them being as thick as they are, it seems like it's a fairly easy time. It's
an easy person to, like, impersonate.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Act a little clueless, and you're probably fine.
Yeah, but, like, as they're walking, they're like, no, he doesn't swing his arms like that. It's more stiff, like this. Oh, yeah, like that. And like, just little things like that. Or, like, you'd have to pay so
clearly
close
they've missed
attention
their
to
calling
details.
in magical theater. Where's the drama club at Hogwarts?
Can they hire me? Because I'd be all for that.
Anyway, yeah, so they somehow find their way to the Slytherin Common Room, which
is super cool.
It is
Getting
kinda
to
cool.
Sneak into another common room.
it's kind of cool. I mean, they run into to Percy in the hallways, which is an awkward thing, especially for Ron.
Mm-hmm.
And then Draco actually bails them out.
Right.
And then they follow Draco, who finds this. Like, to me, reading it, it's just a slab of wall.
Yeah.
It's just wall.
Just down in the dungeons.
And just you have to know where it is. And Draco says the password, which is like the dumbest Slytherin password ever. You're telling me no one can figure that one out? Pure blood? Really?
Well, like you just said, no one knows that it's this stretch of wall. Could be any stretch of wall.
Yeah, but you could follow a Slytherin, like, in the general area.
Well, they also said it was a new password. So,
Again, it's not...
like, how often do we...
It doesn't take, like, some...
I'm sure there are lots of other racist type passwords that they have used. Probably use the whole, like, mudblood, too.
Probably.
Like...
But I don't
Sorry
know.
for the language.
Gonna have to censor this. No, but I don't know. The password thing bugged me. But the Slytherin Common Room is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like once you get past the whole going down into the dungeons thing, like once you're in the specific common room, I think it can be a cool vibe. I think people get caught up in the Gryffindor common room because we spend so much time there.
Well, because it's so cozy and in the towers and whatever, but...
and people get even caught up, even though we spend little to zero time. I don't think we spend any time there. The Hufflepuff common room always gets the connotation of it's cozy. Like, its defining characteristic is it's a homey vibe.
Yeah.
And then, Ravenclaw's up, and it gets more of an airy type of vibe.
Right.
Open and
which is kind of interesting because they're
library-esque
both Gryffindor's
almost.
in a tower too. Ravenclaw's is in a tower, so as there's more airy versus Gryffindor's.
it's brighter
Yeah.
and lighter colors versus
Yeah, I can
like
see
the
that.
deeper reds of the Gryffindors that maybe like
The
take
color.
a deeper, darker tone to it.
Yeah. But the Slytherin's common room
what's the
seems
word?
to have like the creepy kind of green light kind of factor. But Malfoy has something to show them. He's got that Daily Prophet article about poor Arthur Weasley, which is also the first mention of Azkaban.
Yeah, the wizard prison. But they say Arthur got a big fine, and Lucius is trying to get him to resign. Granted, he also just raided the Malfoy manor, which I'm sure, continues to put them at odds, the two of them.
Right.
So it's a Weasley-Malfoy kind of back and forth. But anyway, the point of the conversation was Malfoy isn't the heir of Slytherin.
What a shocker.
Yeah.
Definitely a shocker for Ron and Harry. They're like, we just wasted all this time. Although, of course, Ron is like, well, it's not a complete waste.
It's not a complete waste, but also Draco kind of gives us a little bit more information of like, Dad
has talked about
Dad
it.
knows a lot more than he's telling me about
He
it.
said how, I think this is where the Azkaban came in. He said how the person who opened the chamber was probably still in Azkaban.
Yeah.
And then all he knows is someone died last time. It was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's
Which is
about it.
pre-Lucius.
Right.
So Draco does drop some information.
Right.
Not exactly what they were targeting, but still information that you can use and kind of puzzle piece things together.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Ron said, like, I gotta tell Dad to check
the chamber.
Check the chamber at Malfoy Manor.
The drawing room or
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a complete waste of time. And then the potion's starting to wear off, so they have to bolt out of there, find their way back to Myrtle's bathroom, where Hermione is still barricaded in the stall because
She's become a cat. A human cat.
she found a hair on Millicent Bulstrode during the dueling club and thought it was Bulstrode's hair.
Which makes me wonder how short her hair is then. Or, I mean, because cat hair is not necessarily very long.
I don't know.
Maybe she has like a pixie cut or something.
I think Hermione in the whole tussle just got a little, because, I mean, Millicent had her in like a headlock at one point. So I think she got a little flustered and just was like, I'm counting this.
Which is a shame. If she had been in a headlock, she could have grabbed a strand of her hair
and
plucked
pull
it.
some hair, yeah.
I guess, I don't know, she wasn't thinking about that.
No, she's more worried about being in the headlock.
It's just a shame it doesn't work. Like, it's a good thing that it doesn't work like that, but it would be interesting. I mean, like, we've seen McGonagall become a cat, so it'd be interesting if that was another way you could become a cat, but like a temporary cat, not a full-time cat. I just want to be a cat.
Gotta work your butt off to have the skills of McGonagall. Anyway, let's go ahead and stop right there, and then we'll get into your wonderful Polyjuice potion
Thoughts?
So many spoiler. Thoughts. Yes. And I have a what if question for you, so we'll get right to it. We'll be back in a second.
Amazing! This is just like magic!
All right, we are back from Lockhart's wonderful break. And I wanted to kind of kick it off with the dark thought you kind of put into my head when you said that Dumbledore just wanted to torture the Dursleys a little bit, kind of...
with a toothpick?
Yeah, well, just set them off a little bit so they can, like...
send an actual
them, yeah.
present. If you call a toothpick a present.
And you saying that Dumbledore wants to harass Muggles just made me think of, like, oh, man, that's super dark. It could be like his dad. Like a dad trait that comes out. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just because it's the Dursleys.
I know what you thought, but I'm thinking like, well, if he has any semblance of that line of thinking, that's his dad coming out in him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the amusement of it, I guess.
Isn't that a dark thought of like...
It is a dark thought.
Because
I'm so proud of you. Look at you having a dark thought. Usually I'm the one with all the dark thoughts. I love it.
I can be morbid. And that is morbid because his dad went to prison for that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And I mean, it was like a justified thing. And this is also a justified thing because the Dursleys are child abusers.
Fair enough. Moving on.
You had a what if question.
I had a what if question also about Dumbledore.
Okay.
So that conversation that happens in Dumbledore's office where Dumbledore essentially says, like, I don't believe you're doing this.
Yeah.
And
talk to me if there's anything you want to say.
Tell me, is there anything you want to tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Which clearly at this point, him and Snape have had a conversation of like, hey, by the way, this happened.
Dumbledore doesn't ask questions like that, but
no, it was a very pointed question where he already knows the answer to.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to use Legilimens. He doesn't have to like peer into Harry's soul. He knows the answer. And Harry says, nope, I got nothing.
Which is such a teenager thing to do.
But he does it after like this clear pause of thinking of all of the things that he has to tell Dumbledore.
There had been like 3 minutes of just silence.
Some of it's relevant and some of it is clearly not. Mm-hmm. But clearly he has this pause where he's like, could tell him this, could tell him that. Nope. And then it just drops. Mm-hmm. And I would love to, obviously carry that conversation on and be like, what's Dumbledore's response? Just like, okay, leave. Like, I don't know what the response is. But anyway, my what if question to you.
Yes.
Similarly to the question that Anna had before of like, what happened if Harry told the room of Snape, Dumbledore, McGonagall, and I guess Lockhart of, oh, by the way, I'm hearing voices that no one else can hear.
You mean, what if men were vulnerable with their thoughts and emotions? Essentially is what you're asking?
No, I'm not asking anything of the sort. I'm asking...
Harry won't do that because it's like an awkward, like, oh...
No, he thinks he's crazy, or he thinks he's either crazy or he thinks that it's a bad omen.
If only men would communicate.
Because women never have communication issues. Anyway. Rude.
So the question is, what if Harry...
What if Harry had said, yeah, by the way, there's something I should probably let you in on.
Yeah.
What happens? I'm throwing this at her like completely blind right now.
Yeah, so you gotta...
Except for it's on literally my notes.
Yeah, but like, whatever. Okay, so I would say Dumbledore right now knows that Harry can talk to snakes. So if he's like, oh, I've been hearing these voices, it's really weird, he'd probably start looking into what kind of snake creatures there could potentially be that would be dark and damaging. And I feel like Dumbledore would know fairly quickly about a basilisk.
Here's what I think. I think it could go one of two ways.
I don't think he would tell him about like why he can talk to snakes. I think that's information for another day.
That's fair. But I think it can go one of two ways. Is Dumbledore hears this information from Harry.
Mm-hmm.
And he could either take the route of ignoring him directly and watching him from a distance, like keeping an eye on him from a distance.
Like how he does in book 5, kind of?
Like how he does in book 5, which is an example of why Dumbledore would still entertain that thought. Mm-hmm. Because it's what he does with Riddle. Mm-hmm. Because we're in spoilers. It's what he does with Riddle when this whole thing happens, or when he even meets Riddle for the first time.
Right.
And Riddle lets that slip.
From afar.
He lets that detail slip, and Dumbledore is now like, problem. And now he treats him sort of like a cautious problem at arm's length.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Riddle also had the mentality of like, I don't want any friends. I don't want anyone trying to take care of me. I'm an independent person.
There were a lot of other issues, but let's be real. Harry's coming from a terrible home life. Mm-hmm. He could have, him and Voldy have a lot in common in a lot of different ways.
Tom says later at the end of the book, and we are very, very similar. We even look similar to each other.
So Dumbledore could fall into old habits and treat Harry the same way he treated Riddle back then. Mm-hmm. Or do you think Dumbledore could have learned from that mistake of being like, I got to do this differently than I did before?
I think he might recognize that he should do it differently, but I think old habits die hard.
Just like with what you said in book 5.
Right.
Is something crops up, and I think he falls into old habits of like, whoa, back off.
Right.
I need to keep this kid.
And maybe his thought would be like, okay, I don't want to terrify this, what is he, 12 years old? Like this 12-year-old with the idea that like, okay, you're talking to snakes because of this, and that means there's this massive snake in the school who are attacking people, and we need to now evacuate the building because now we know what the danger is, and like, I don't know if people are going to blame you for that.
We have to move to e-learning.
Oh my God. Oh, it'd be the worst.
It's just flu powder faces and a bunch of chimneys.
Oh God, it would be so bad.
Anyway, no, but it's an interesting question because that would matter.
Yeah.
Dumbledore's reaction to Harry telling the truth there matters.
Well, yeah. I mean, if Dumbledore freaks out on him or anything, then Harry's never going to want to talk to him ever again.
And but if the truth is what we think it is, where Dumbledore knows the answer to his own question at this point. He's had Snape kind of tell him what's going on. So essentially, Dumbledore, you'd hope, is just going to treat him as is for the rest of at least this book and see what happens. Mm-hmm. So it's just an interesting dynamic between
I would think
Harry and Dumbledore.
The more what if question would be like, would Dumbledore close the school? Because, I mean, if he gets a sense of like, okay, there's a massive snake and that's what it is. I mean, I could understand keeping Harry around to try to listen for the snake. But otherwise, like, I mean, would the board of educators be like, you need to close Hogwarts, you need to find the snake and
I love that Hogwarts has a board of governors. I know. Like, I never really considered that until they mentioned it at some point. I'm like, huh.
There always has to be a
who else
board.
is on that board of governors other than Lucius? I don't know.
I don't know.
No, that's a valid point. I don't think he would close the school.
Because I think it would terrify everyone to be like, Hogwarts, of all places, has closed
Not
down.
only that, but part of me thinks it's his vanity and his arrogance to be like, I'm Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. I got this. Like,
I can't be scared out of my own school by the The memory of Tom Riddle.
Not even scared, but just like, I can handle this. I can fix this, and I am supposed to be the thing that wards off all evil.
Yeah.
And
I could see him as like locking them in their common rooms and then taking Harry around and be like, okay, do you hear anything?
There
hear anything?
are better ways to deal with this than what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, the first years are like grouped together and roaming the hallways together, which
just imagine if any of them got attacked. It'd be like we're wiping out 5 or 6 at a time.
Right. I mean, because we know what the threat is,
right.
That's a bad idea because
right.
5...
For them, it's like good logic. But
no,
yeah.
It's great logic if there's like some individual causing this. Groups would tend to ward that away.
In numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This particular threat that no one is aware of, that doesn't matter. Then it's just a group of 5 people. But anyway, I thought it's at least a thought of doing something versus... And maybe Dumbledore already has an idea of what it is and knows that that's pointless. But either way, anyway, I'm rambling.
Say, since we're talking about Dumbledore, I love how he drops the information about phoenixes. And he says how they carry immensely heavy loads, their tears have healing powers, and they make highly faithful pets. And there's an emphasis on faithful. Which, of course, all 3 things he uses later on when they're in the chamber. Like, that's why Harry's able to survive. Mm-hmm. And do I think that Dumbledore, like, knows that he's, like, giving him this right now? No. But it is interesting how Dumbledore always seems to drop nuggets of knowledge that then are very relevant later on. He's just good like that. He's
a teacher without being a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, this isn't a lesson per se, but while you're here, here's
have knowledge.
Here's some
because clearly he didn't know what a phoenix was and now needs to be taught that.
I think you posted on our Twitter something about how, like, classes that need to be taught at Hogwarts.
Yeah, I feel like there should be just a regular magical creatures kind of thing. Because sure, you're not going to run into every single creature ever and maybe not necessarily need to care for them. But you should have some knowledge of, like...
what they are, not necessarily how to care for them.
Yeah, just like, this is out there and you might... Because, I mean, like, we get some creatures with Lupin and Defense Against the Dark Arts, but that's because they're dark creatures. I mean, a gnome isn't necessarily a dark creature, but it's still a magical creature.
Molly wants to have one as a pet.
I know. So let's find out some more about that.
Really quick, I just have to point out another great Ron line of when Hermione's telling him about the plan to get Crabbe and Goyle and go from there. And he goes, have you ever heard a plan that can go wrong in so many ways? To Harry. And I'm reading that line, having read the series, and I'm just like, Ron, bro, you don't even know. Like, you'll have that thought so many times.
And you'll, like, this plan would probably want the smoothest out of any of the ones that you're weary of.
Yeah, for the most part. Minus Hermione being a cat. Yeah, it worked pretty well. All right. It is time. No more delaying. No more delaying.
I get to talk about Polyjuice Potion?
Elizabeth has a Polyjuice Potion little fun discussion here.
Yeah, I get to be a Ravenclaw again with my thoughts.
For those that are Netflix fans, you might recognize the reference.
Yes. Okay, so Polyjuice Potion, I think the first time we read this and we see it from young kids' perspectives, it's like, okay, this is good for our plot to find out more information and not like trick Malfoy or whatever. But Polyjuice Potion seems so dark. Like, there are so many dark implications of it. And reading it this time reminded me of the Netflix show Black Mirror, which, if you're not familiar with the show, it's pretty much, it takes technology, some of which already exists, some could very soon exist. It's like near future. And it shows how it can be used in a positive way, but then how it can also be twisted into a really, really dark place. And I feel like Polyjuice Potion would be a whole dark Black Mirror episode. Like, there are some pros to it, certainly, but you could also use it in really, really dark ways, which makes me wonder why the Ministry doesn't have more, like, control of it, I guess. Or it seems like it should be an unforgivable potion, the same way there are unforgivable curses.
That's a interesting idea of the unforgivable potion type thing.
Because, like, why would you need to use it? Like, why would a normal person need Polyjuice potion unless it's like either stealth or something dark, you know? And I was trying to think of different like positive ways, and I'm like, okay, well, on the one hand, it could be really nice to widen people's perspective, because if you have someone who is very racist or sexist or any other type of bigotry, you could have them literally fill somebody's shoes and live an hour in their life and see what they go through, and see what kind of harassment they get. And maybe that would help open their perspective and they could become a better person. And that could be really, really great. And then I was trying to think of other ways. I was like, okay, well, maybe if, like, let's say you're someone who has a disease, and being able to feel that those symptoms, like, while being that person, if you're like a doctor or a scientist, like maybe that would help them better understand their patients, which could help them better find cures, or like understand where this pain is or what exactly it feels like. Or even with like mental disorders or anxiety, like, I mean, if there's someone who literally like cannot, maybe because of depression or OCD or whatever, like they can't find themselves doing things, if someone else were to become them and do them for them until they feel better. Like, for example, if like going clothing shopping just fills you with so much anxiety that you just like cannot do it, have someone be your body, go clothes shopping for you, and then like it still gets done and you still have that task done, and maybe that helps you with like your depression or whatever. So there are like positive things to it, but I feel like the dark consequences, the negative, scary things that people can do with it kind of really outweigh the pros, which is why I feel like the ministry should have more control over the use of it. And I don't know if that's like maybe if you see someone buying all the ingredients that go into the potion, then there's like red flags or something.
That's hard though.
It's really hard. It'd be really hard to do. But it's just like you could have, you know, people like, I mean, you see like stalkers and stuff. Like you could have someone go after an ex or someone they've never even talked to and just like try to steal their hair so that they can become that person and ruin somebody's life. Or like, other than that sexual harassment or like even assault kind of a thing, you could have identity theft, which we know of course Moody does go through, but you could also like completely financially ruin a person if you're taking credit cards out in that person's name, or going to the bank and like, you know, draining their bank account or whatever the case may be. Or just any type of revenge. Like you could go and be somebody else at work and just, you know, mouth off to their boss or something. They can undermine the law the way Barty Crouch Jr. does. And I mean, also just because it's the magical world, like if you caught someone being you, maybe you think it's like a time travel thing, and maybe you then accidentally kill them, or they kill you and they take over your life. Or you could even have like someone steal the hair from a dead person and then they be that person, you know, for years if they needed to. I mean, I don't know if like you'd be able to age if it's hair from the dead or not. I guess that'd be a whole different tangent. But it just seems like there's so many dark ways that the ministry should do a better job of watching it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And obviously they find the book with this potion in it in the restricted section for a reason.
I mean, the 6th and 7th years, they can go into there without having to get special permission.
Sure. You're thinking those are more mature students who'd hopefully try to use those for, I guess, better purposes.
Right. But I mean, I guess it seems almost aligned with like the books teaching you how to create a Horcrux. Like, of course, obviously that's breaking your own soul and stuff, but you could completely ruin someone else's life with the Polyjuice potion.
I do want to say that there are procedures in place for identity theft, because Polyjuice potion isn't the only way to switch your form. You can transfigure yourself. Tonks can shapeshift a little bit. And
there are the different like spells against it, like when they go into Gringotts and there's the waterfall that washes away all disguises. Like there are things that can fight it.
Gringotts also requires wand to prove who you are, so you also have to steal that person's wand, which is trickier to do.
But assuming like just normal regular person, like if you're talking to a friend, like you don't know, I could be somebody else right now. someone could have stolen my hair. I do shed
Just
my
because
hair.
you look like someone doesn't make you that person. So you still have
Right.
personality traits.
Right.
You still have knowledge that
Right.
that person would have that you don't.
Which
There's ways.
if you have a stalker, I mean, like, they could have been watching you long enough to
Sure.
know you or...
Sure. The idea of it becoming like an unforgivable potion is an interesting idea.
I would say, like, maybe if not unforgivable, then, like, it needs to be ministry approved kind of a thing.
Like a time turner.
Yeah.
Like you need to specifically register every
Yeah,
time you
and
try to
maybe,
use this
like,
potion.
maybe it's, you know, if it's... I could see the government working around it and being like, okay, you need to become this person because of security things, and you can't let them know. But if it was just like if I wanted to become Anna or something, or she wanted to become me, maybe if it was like, we sit down, we have a contract, you are a witness, I'm giving her my hair, and like, I know why she wants to be me, or vice versa.
Here's the problem with that, though, is those people that do that are doing it for probably the right reasons.
Right.
Versus the people that aren't trying to do this for the right reasons are not going to try to do any of that. And it seems as though
And I'm sure there would be a black market for the Polyjuice potion, but then...
It doesn't even have to be. A second year can do this well at school.
A smart second year.
Regardless, a second year can do it. It's possible. So
Right.
therefore, it doesn't seem that difficult for an adult wizard with...
Unless it's like harder
resources.
to just get the ingredients.
Shouldn't be.
Like,
Most
maybe-
of those are common.
Well, they said most of them
mentions-
except the two, which maybe Snape gets like special privileges because he's a potions master and he teaches
Well, they're also
it.
probably used in other things,
Yeah.
but maybe higher level, more advanced potion classes,
Mhm.
and that's fine. But I assume you can go get those ingredients at a potions place. Anyway, we went down a huge rabbit hole there, but I do think your point about the Polyjuice potion being a definite, potentially very dark thing
Mhm.
is a very real,
Mhm.
a real thought.
And I mean, and the pros seem like it would be really great too. I mean, there's certainly enough closed-minded people who could benefit from living somebody else's life for an hour or two. But yeah, just the dark,
just
the
like-
dark side of it just seems
I mean,
super dark.
just like you said, technology and developments in magic, I'm sure, are the same as science. You create something for one thing, and then people will always twist it and bring it back to something else.
Yeah.
So they'll always, and that's with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But anyway,
To end it on a fun note,
yeah,
Percy was making out with Penny down in the dungeons.
we don't know.
Oh, they
that.
totally were.
We don't know.
You know
that.
they totally were.
I-
Because Penny walked away first, and then like they waited a few minutes, and then Percy came out from the same area. They were totally making out.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Because I'm right.
I'm just saying that I think the idea of him trying to go out and stop this whole Muggle-born killer thing is a very plausible idea. There was only, I think, one other thing that I had, and that was the Malfoy secret chamber, which Harry gets an up-close view at some point in the future.
And then I guess my another one with Malfoy would be, we know the chamber was 50 years ago, someone died, and that is Moaning Myrtle.
Spoilers, people! That's why you've listened through. Hopefully you're with us to the end of this one through all of the Polyjuice potion rabbit hole discussion that we had. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Rabbit holes are fun. I think
Let
so.
us know on Twitter and Instagram what your kind of thoughts and beliefs are on all of it. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to Hogwarts, a podcast. If you like what you've heard, please click the subscribe button on your preferred podcasting app and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Hogwarts a Pod.